Right.
Oh, it was blocked. Good morning,
What's
man.
up, Justin?
What up? What up?
What's going on, man?
Chilling, man. Sorry about that. I just had to finish up one little box of cards.
That's all right. That's all right. I wish I was in that situation.
Yeah. I was trying to sound
Uh,
like a man.
how's the quarantine going?
Good, man. How about you? Going
Good.
stir crazy though.
Right. You where you at? You're on the West Coast right now, right?
Yeah, I'm in Arizona.
Yeah. How's your family back in New York?
They're good, man. My pops works for DOH, so like they've kind of been fortunate to where they've been locked down, but they can get out and like my pops has like a pass where he can drive out and get whatever he needs to get. So
Good.
they've been good though, laying
Staying
low.
safe. Yeah.
Yeah, for sure.
I was
You?
just
How's Boston?
it's not bad. I think they had, the press conferences yesterday. If everyone kind of keeps doing what they're doing, they have some type of phase plan. So
Dope.
hopefully by the summer, we can get some type of youth sports and guys back out there and kind of a little bit more normal, kind of like. So we'll see what happens.
For sure.
I was just telling the fellows before you had logged on. We'll just run through, your intro, our relationship, kind of your path from, high school all the way through, college, the draft process, minors to majors, the debut. And then we'll just talk about workout routines, some arm care stuff, some of your pitching grips, kind of your cues and kind of some tips on pitches. And then if we have some time, a few guys I know have some questions, so we'll just open it up to them and
For sure.
they can ask a few things. So, fellas, I'm sure a lot of you guys already know Justin Dunn for being on the Mariners last year. A little bit of a fast track from BC in terms of his debut, but went to high school. He was actually drafted out of high school. Didn't sign. Went to BC. Played for the Katua Kettleers in the Cape League. Junior year out of Boston College, he was actually drafted by the Mets in the first round. And then he actually was traded to the Mariners where he is now. He was traded for Robinson Cano, so that's a pretty big trade right there. Our relationship, Justin, after his freshman year, you were taking classes, right? First semester at BC?
Yeah, man. Take school serious so you don't have to take summer school. But I was in summer school and I needed to get some innings and had a relationship through – it was Books that played with y'all first, right?
Yeah,
Books
yeah.
and Gordon, right?
Yeah, Gordon, and then even Tommy Borden was playing for us too.
Yeah, Books. I call him Books.
Yeah,
We call them Books at school. Yeah, Books. And so they had that relationship, and coach was like, just go down and throw. And I didn't have a car, so my boy Kevin had to drive me literally to every game. And then they went down to the Cape, and I rode – how did I get down there? I rode with you down there, didn't I?
Yeah, or
You
no.
rode with me.
You rode back. You rode with, what was his name?
I
Travis?
rode with Rick. Yeah, I did.
Yeah.
Yes, I did.
Infielder turned sidewinder or something like
Yeah,
that.
with Travis.
Yeah.
With Travis. Yeah. I rode down with Rick and then rode back with you. But played down the Cape with them and had a great time. And honestly, it was the start of like my trajectory forward. So very thankful for that day.
I remember those first two innings. I followed you up. I went 7 after. That was
Yeah.
those first two innings. I remember after. I think it was probably your first or second batter that you faced. I remember seeing Coach Robert scurry out of the dugout around the backstop, and he went right up to Rick, and he was like, "What's the deal with this kid? Can I
Yeah,
get?"
man.
And then it was the next year, that next summer, because you had already had a commitment, I think, with another collegiate league that you didn't want to burn a bridge. So you had told Coach Roberts that after that sophomore season you would join.
Yeah. I had that. I mean, it was a couple different things. I mean, and I think we talked about it too that night at the hotel and at dinner. But it was a situation of where he had offered me a contract for that year, and I didn't want to go personally until one, I was ready to be a dude there and dominate the league. Like I could have went and played. That showed me I could have went and played, but I didn't think I was ready to dominate the league. And then two, I wanted to finish summer school and also, like you said, didn't want to burn that relationship with Baltimore. I had already committed to that and couldn't leave. So it was a couple of different reasons, but the big deciding factor was I wasn't physically and mentally ready to dominate that league yet.
Okay.
We faced him the next year, Mr. Keogh. You remember?
What's
Did I
going
pitch that
on,
game? Did he
Coach?
throw me?
Ah, he's here.
Look at that. Look at that.
I've been listening to the whole thing.
What's up,
You
Coach?
have a good, Justin, you have a great memory.
I was right, wasn't I?
Yeah, and can I tell a story?
Sure.
Yes, sir. Go ahead.
So one of the great things about Justin Dunn, and there are many, but let me just tell you all, gentlemen, young guys that you are, your word is your bond, and the way you conduct yourself is the way people will remember you. I remember Justin Dunn in so many different ways, and they're all very positive. But the thing I remember most about the conversation that he and I had with Coach Roberts, and Mike Roberts, you may know, his son played second base, Brian Roberts, for the Orioles and the Yankees, and Mike coached at the University of North Carolina, and then South Carolina, he now works the Cubs. But in any event, Justin Dunn said, "Thank you so much, Coach." And if you remember, Justin, he offered you a full contract, not just a temp contract, a full contract after he saw you throw to one hitter. And he touched 95 on the gun. That's what prompted him to come running out of the dugout.
Yep.
But in any event, Justin said to him, "Coach, thank you very much, but would you mind if I spoke to my coach, Mike Gambino, and my parents, and maybe we could talk tomorrow?" We were playing a weekend series there. And that so impressed me, the way you handled yourself, Justin. And the next day we went back and met with Coach Roberts, and Justin explained that after speaking with his parents and his coach, he felt that he had a commitment that he had to honor. And it's about commitment, guys. And Justin is a huge commitment guy. And look where he is now. And always one of my favorites. And you did ride down with me to the Cape. I had to come over to BC to pick you.
You know, I remember, now that you say it, I do remember it. You picked me and Travick up, and I think we went to your house first to pick the gear up, and then we went down there after that.
Exactly. It's like 7 o'clock in the morning.
No. We rode in the A8.
Yeah, that's so bad, huh?
We rode in the A8. It was a comfy ride.
That's the Batmobile.
I'm thinking of making a comeback, and I wanted to hear what Justin said about old broken down ball players who might want to become pitchers.
Do it. Do it. Now's the time. We need arms. Do it.
A lot of time on your hands, Rick, with the quarantine, so you can get the work.
Really.
So, but awesome. Glad you're on here, Rick.
I'm happy to hear both of you. Mr. Keogh and Mr. Dunn are two class individuals.
Thank you. Appreciate you. You as well.
So, Justin, let's dive into high school. So, if you want to talk a little bit about your high school recruiting process. A lot of these guys they're doing PBRs, they're doing perfect games. There's a lot of showcases. Back when you were in high school, if you want to just talk about kind of what your recruiting process was a lot of showcases around, and then obviously touch on your size, and kind of there's a lot of guys out there that are in a similar situation that you were in, where at the senior year they're not pumping 90, 91, but slowly kind of increasing. So if you want to talk about your size and stuff like that in high school.
So I went to boarding school for 4 years. I went to the Gunnery School in Washington, Connecticut for 4 years. When I first stepped on campus, just to put it in perspective, my freshman year, and actually I think I saw Nate on here. So Nate has heard this story about 1 million times at every single one of the bird ball camps he's been to. But when I stepped foot on campus my freshman year, my grandmother was 4'11", and I was not taller than her as a freshman. I did not become taller than my mother, who was 5'3", until the end of my sophomore summer. And then I did not break 5'8" until the end of my junior summer. And then I hit 5'11" my senior year. So I was small, man. I was really small throughout the whole process. So for me, the tough part, the challenging part for me was getting schools to look ahead. Everybody wants the right now guy. You look at Chris, and he's got that big body. He's strong. He's had that body since he came out the womb. You know what I mean?
Yep.
He's projectable. You can see it. He's right now, can't miss power. I didn't necessarily have that, and that's why I was extremely fortunate for, first of all, my high school coach, who also coached in the Cape, coached in Falmouth, and he was part of the community or committee that I had talked to when making that decision. And he saw the potential coming. My dad's 6'4", All my uncles are 6'5", 6'6". So the growth spurt was coming. It was just a matter of time. When I always had big feet, like I wore a size 13 when I was 5'3".
Looking like a clown.
So, yeah, so I was walking around like Bambi, and like my little brother's going through the same thing right now. And so when I was going through the process, he was always telling me I wanted to go to Vanderbilt. Like that's where I wanted to go. I want to go to Vanderbilt. I want to go to Texas and Oregon State. And when the recruiting process started, I was a two-way guy, and most guys were looking at me as a shortstop. And like every school that said that, I started laughing. And I was like, I pitch too. Like that's what I do. And they were like, yeah, you don't throw hard enough. You don't throw hard enough. Like legitimately had a phone call with Pat Casey at Oregon State, and he was like, I'd love to come see you work out, da, da, da. And I was like, yeah, great.
I would change my name.
Hey, Justin, I think you're muted right now. Hold on.
Oh,
He's muted.
There you go. You're good. You're good.
where'd you lose me at?
Casey.
Oregon State.
Yeah, so Pat Casey, we were on the phone in my college dorm, my high school dorm, I'll never forget. And I was going out to Arizona to play. He wanted me to come out there, so that we set a tourney up. I went and played out on a team for him to see me play. And he was like, let me know what day you're starting. I'll come check you out. Starting a short, I'll check you out. I was like, great. And then I'll let you know what day I'm pitching too. And he was like, Justin, with all due respect, I probably won't come see you pitch. I was like, why not? He was just like, straight up, every single one of our guys throw 90 to 95, and you just don't meet those requirements. I was like, all right, cool, off my list. Like,
Did you still make the trip out there? Did you still?
oh yeah, I made the trip, and he came and saw. I mean, Oregon State was one of my dream schools, and like was the one school far away I would have went to.
Yeah.
And so then
not burning the bridges.
Exactly, yeah.
Yep.
Paid for the trip. Was like, you know what, I might as well go out here. So then come back, start talking to my high school coach, and he's like, listen, there's interest and there's interest. So this is my advice to all of you in the college recruiting process. There's interest. And I'm going to go out on a limb and say every single one of you will get a letter from a school saying, come to my camp, come to my camp, come to my camp. That's great. Awesome. Fine and dandy. But when you start getting the personalized messages from the head coach with handwritten signatures, then like, all right, maybe this is the camp I should go to. So I get one of those from BC. End up going to that camp, start talking to my high school coach about it. He's like, love Mike Gambino. Absolutely love him. Great program. And coach wanted me to play two-way. And so I was like, that's perfect. Like, he believes in me on both sides of the ball, which I love. And then what else played into it was the fact that my coach was like, all these big schools that you're looking at, they're meat factories. They get you in. Either you produce high-quality steak or you're out. And someone else who's just younger than you and just as good, older than you, has been sitting there for 4 years, is going to come in and take your spot, and they'll never look back. Yeah. I was like, damn, I never thought about that, right? And this man, like, I've been in the car when he's been on the phone with Corbin and Casey and all these dudes. And so for him to say that, I was like, all right, maybe I'm barking up the wrong tree. Maybe this isn't where I want to be. So kind of did some soul searching and was like, you know what? Like, my dad's always raised me to be the best, right? Be the best, be the best, be the best, but never to play with the best. He's always wanted me to play against the best. Yep. And so when I started to go through the process, I went to BC. I mean, and like, I kid you not, I walked on campus 5'8", 110 pounds on my visit, was watching their indoor practice, looked at my dad, said I could play here right now and be better than every single one of these, play here right now. And I was like, this is where I need to be, because I can play here. It's in the ACC. I could play against UNC, Louisville, Virginia Tech, Wake, all those schools, and have the ability to go out and beat them. And I felt that the resume was going to look so much better beating those schools than beating BC, beating Virginia. Like, you know what I mean? Yep. Just flipping the script a little bit. And then when you step back and also think, I could potentially get a degree from the top five schools arguably in the country, and have a chance to, whether baseball works or doesn't work, be successful in life. Yeah. You just couldn't pass up. So I ended up jumping on the BC offer right away. They never saw me playing a game. I got offered right after the camp I did, and committed like the next day.
Now, you've always been someone I know, confidence-wise, you always have confidence. You have that swagger. in high school, I think it was it 35th round? 37th round. So did you feel, walking with that confidence, walking into BC as a freshman, into fall ball and stuff like that, even though you have that kind of draft tag, coming in as a freshman, did you feel like any type of pressure of, all right, hey, I'm going into a D1 program. Now I have that kind of draft tag on me. Was there any pressure there heading into that fall, or did you kind of have that swagger, like, I'm here to F stuff up and take, take my—
Hell yeah, but I did that to myself.
Yeah.
Like, funny story. So you guys are from Mass. You probably have seen Chris come around the facility a good amount. So Chris Shaw, it was his sophomore year, my freshman year, and it was the first scrimmage of the year, and I was starting. And so I walked in like, all right, I'm the only kid that got drafted in this class. Like, let me show these boys what's up. I'm pitching on Friday. Like, I walked into Gambino's office. I said, I want to pitch on Friday, play in the Cape my freshman year, and I want to be drafted in the first round my junior year. Like, told him all those things. He looked at me and said, you're stupid. No, get out of my office. We fought. So this is a couple days after that meeting, right? So walk in, and I see the lineups, and it's like Chris Shaw hitting 2. I got Chris. So my boy Gabriel comes up to me. He's like, hey, don't throw Chris a down and in fastball. And Chris is just standing there laughing. And I looked down and I said, first pitch, down and in. Like, I'm coming. Like, because in my head, I'm like, that kid can't be that good. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm a dude. We're going to see who he is.
Yeah. So
punch the first kid. Here comes Chris. So I'm like, all right. Catcher puts down like change up or something. I shook. Fastball in. Let it eat. Whack. So for those of you who've been to the old BC baseball field, my man probably hit the ball on Beacon Street, and like the whole team started laughing at me. And it was like my first reality check to like come back down to size. There's a learning curve.
Yeah.
So I had to kind of shrink my head a little bit after that moment. So I'm very thankful to Chris for that, but I wish he didn't hit it that far. You know what I mean? Because he still brags about it all the time. But he also knows when we face each other in the show, he's getting a fastball down and in, and we're going to see if he can do it again.
That's awesome. So that's great, because my next question was kind of that transition that you had going into BC. So that was perfect. So your freshman year, after freshman year, we already talked about the Cape. You got the chance to go down to the Cape your sophomore year. Now in the Cape, when you went down to Katuitt, you were in a closer's role, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, you go down to the Cape, you're in the closer's role, you have some good success. You come back into your junior year, and now starting at your junior season for BC, you were still in that closer's role. So if you want to touch on, maybe that closer's role that you started off at your junior year, and then the transition over into a starter a couple weeks in, and kind of, why Gambino made that decision, what clicked, and kind of that fluidity of how everything and why everything happened, and kind of the mindset of now going from a closer where, a guy like you throwing 94, 95, you can come out 1 or 2 innings against top dogs, and like you just said before, let it eat, where, did you have a different mindset now being a starter where you're expected to go 5, 6 innings, maybe even longer, depending on the situation? How did that transition kind of come about?
Yeah, 100%. So that whole thing honestly started my freshman year. Was absolutely atrocious as a starter. Like, we tried to start me midweek. They would joke, man, like, if you go back and watch like fall scrimmages, like we have videotapes of like people talking. My sophomore year when I came back and kind of established myself a little bit.
Yep.
My first outing back, guys were like, oh my gosh, like typical Dunn, walk the bases loaded, and then strike out the side. So my freshman year, it was either I dominated, walked the bases loaded, and was out after 4 hitters, walked the bases loaded, punched out the side, and then just fell apart. And so I didn't pitch. I had 11 innings my freshman year.
Okay.
I'm back my sophomore year. Went down to the Cape. They put me went down to Baltimore. The coach put me in the pen just to get some confidence. Got with a good coach. Had a little velo jump. Started to get on the map a little bit. So things were starting to click. Foster came in. He was our new pitching coach, and he was like, "Hey, I want you to start." I was like, "All right, cool." So I started starting. I would dominate for 3 innings. Absolutely dominate, like cruise. And then for some reason, I was just immature in the sense of it wasn't clicking to turn the lineup over. And what wasn't clicking was I didn't have a changeup. Yep. I didn't throw my changeup, right?
Fellas, listen up. You heard what I said.
This is the thing. This is the factor for real. I didn't have a changeup. So I would 4, 5, 6, I'm getting smacked. And so Gambino, we flew back in from Florida State. I'll never forget. It was my third start at Florida State. We got back home on Monday, called me in the office. He was like, hey, we're losing our games at this point in the year in the back 3 innings of the game. I was like, yeah. He goes, I want to move you to the back 3 innings of the game. I was like, all right. Like, one thing you need to know about me, I hate to lose more than I love to win. So you tell me to go get everybody a cup of water, and that's what's going to take to get us to win a game. Everyone's going to get the best cup of water they've ever got in their life. That's just the way I am. That's the way I'm wired. So I was like, F it. Like, I want to go to Omaha. This is what it's going to take. I can give you 3 on Friday and give you 1 on Sunday. Give me a day off.
Yeah.
He was like, let's do it. So started to jump, have some success again. We're starting to win ball games. Things kind of turned. So then we fast forward to junior year. We'll go to the Cape, and then I start doing 1-inning saves where I'm running out 4 or 5 days in a row.
Yeah.
I was in the top 4 for saves in the Cape, and we had the worst team up there. Like, if we would have had a couple more wins, I probably would have won the whole thing, been the best closer up there. And so coach is like, hey, forget the 3-inning, 1-inning. We're going to go 1 inning. You're up every day. I was like, all right, that's what it's going to take to get us there. We finally had the team where we had Mike King on Friday, Jake Stevens was a guy on Saturday, and Jesse Adams. So we had 3 starters to where every single day we had a chance to win a ball game. Yep. So I was like, you know what? This is perfect. We're going to get a chance to win every game. I can touch the ball. I love to play. I had the ability to be in every single game. So I was hyped. We hit a skid in the middle of the year where I wasn't pitching because we were losing pretty bad. It was like 2 weeks straight. So we had a game at UMass on Tuesday. And who shows up? Pete shows up, comes rolling up, whatever. So, like, I'm down. I'm just thinking I'm chilling.
Yeah.
So I'm over there kicking it with Pete and Andrew and John and everybody. And Foster goes, go to the pen. I was like, oh, shit. So I was like, all right, Pete, I got to go, man. Because it's like a tight game, and we couldn't lose. It was for the bean pot. We're playing for the bean pot, so, like, we couldn't lose.
Yeah.
So I go down there. I'm warming up. Foster radios down. He goes, you're going in. All you got is fastball changeup. No sliders, no curveballs, nothing. Fastball changeup. Went in, 9 pitches. We'll see you. So he's like, all right, he's got it. Gambino called me in the office the next day. So we're playing Florida State next week. You're starting. Or we're playing Virginia next week. You're starting. I was like, what? And he's like, you're starting. I was like, all right, man, if that's what you want. I was like, am I getting eased into it or is it full go? And he's like, what do you want? I was like, I'm going to ride me till the wheels fall off, I guess. So I went out and I went to King that night in the room the night before. And I was like, bro, I have no clue what I'm doing right now. So tomorrow when I go out there, I need you to tell me what to do. So Mike King literally from the time I walked in the locker room was like, all right, get dressed. All right, start rolling out. All right, throw your heat pack on. All right, let's go outside. Run, stretch. All right, 3 throws here, 3 throws here, 3 throws here. Pull down on the mound. This is your script. Like, walked me through how to be a starter. Ended up going 5 and had some good success. And I think part of it was just because I was so concerned with winning. Yeah. I wasn't really concerned with, like, my draft status. And my agent was trying to get me to make that happen all year. He was like, you got to start, you got to start, you got to start. I was like, I really don't care. Like, I just want to win games, man. You know? Yeah. But the mindset definitely changed for sure. So as a closer, I was 99 to 101 every time out. And I was like, there's no way this is going to carry. I can't carry this intensity. It was a F you here, this hit it. Like, I'm throwing it down the middle of the plate, and then I'm ripping a slider, go back to the bench. Like, you know what I'm going to do. I know what I'm going to do. It's, can you hit it or not? So when I started, it was like, all right, now I need to find a way to make it carry. So mentally, I had myself pull back to, let's pitch it 92 to 94 in your head. Whatever comes out, but we're going to back off the range. You're going to command the baseball, and you're going to get ahead of guys and try to be as efficient as possible. That's the only way you're going to get deep. And it ended up coming out 94 to 97. That was great. Yeah. Fantastic. But I was, all right, let's attack the zone, challenge hitters. We're going to finish guys at 3 pitches or less, and we're going to get in and get off the field, conserve your energy, and just try to make the stuff carry. So that was the biggest mindset change for me, for sure.
The biggest, I mean, a lot of that sounds, you know, when you came in for that close and you were, you know, 1, 2, 3, you know, with that fastball changeup, you know, was that something that, okay, here's your opportunity. You know, one thing that you had been lacking in the past was that changeup. Now it starts to click. Now the coaching staff, not only do you have confidence in your changeup, but now it's solidifies them kind of, all right, hey, this kid's changeup starting to work. Now we're comfortable because now he has, say, a 3-4 pitch mix instead of maybe just a 2.
100%. I mean, not to jump ahead, but like that's what carries the same way in the big leagues.
Okay.
You know, like pro ball the same, where my changeup's my fourth pitch, but when it's on are my best games. And it's like I'm in 3-2 counts shaking at changeups when I never shake changeup ever. But like you know as well as anybody, it's the toughest pitch to hit, man. It's the equalizer. So like when I got that confidence, it's kind of like you get a new toy, and it's like, all right, I'm going to show you my toy I got on Christmas. Bam, bam, hit that, bam. You can't, but like then you fall in love with it, and you start to have fun with it, and you really master it. And I'm so thankful Foster did that because it changed my whole career. But I was definitely petrified being on the mound without my pitches.
Yeah, I mean that's one thing that at Route 2 with some of the guys in terms of pitching, they'll come in, they'll throw heaters and they'll start breaking off curveballs, but
Oh man,
they start to they don't have yet is that changeup, and I immediately go nope, no curveball. Like yeah, you've showed that
Yep.
you've had it, you can spin it, you can kind of keep it in the repertoire, but right now between fastball, changeup, slider, I mean tunneling pitches, things like that. That's what we're trying to do at Route 2 is kind of get that same tunnel, say 75-80% down that pike, and then get that movement to start to break.
100%. I mean,
you can freeze guys with kind of loopy curveballs and stuff like
100%, dude.
For some sharp, but keep it there. But at 14, 15, 16, don't just rely on that fastball curveball, because like you said, once you come through that second time on the order, I mean that's as you progress in the ranks, that's dead meat. You might be good on one time through the order, but other than that, you need that either hard slider or that changeup to start tunneling and kind of keeping guys off balance.
Yeah, and just an advice, like, no offense to where you guys are, and if you guys are hitters or not, you guys stink. Like, hitters stink at your level. You can literally just throw a fastball changeup and dominate a game. You don't need anything else.
Yeah.
You can throw Mike Trout changeups and he'll swing and miss. If you can throw the best hitter in the world a changeup, you can throw hitters where you guys are changeups and they will swing and miss every single time.
Yeah, and you had BC Birdball at Fenway one of the nights when Pedro was there. You were able to sit and talk with him and talk about the importance of the changeup and kind of what he talked about. I'm sure you remember that whole entire night. So if you want to maybe elaborate to some of the guys in terms of what Pedro kind of passed along to you that you were able to benefit and kind of work on.
Yeah. So that
even talk about your changeup grip now and if it's kind of similar to Pedro or.
For sure. So that night was set up. Bino told me he was coming up, and it was kind of ironic. The guy. So when I was with the Mets, my changeup had taken a fall off. Like I got away from it. They wanted me to start spinning the ball again and all this stuff. So the guy that taught Pedro his changeup was the special assistant to the pitching coordinator with the Mets at that time. His name's Guy Conti. Pedro calls him his white daddy. So me and Guy had been working every day. And so I texted him. I was like, yo, I'm going to meet Pedro. So he texted him, let him know I was coming. And then Bino let him know I was coming too. So when I came down, we talked for an hour. And we were just talking about what Guy did to change his grip and everything. So to give you one of his secrets, he gave it to me. So first thing, Pedro's fingers are this big. Like this is how big Pedro's hands are. So a lot of the things he did with the baseball were just because of God-given abilities and God-given things that he has. So we both at the time, I changed it now, but he holds a four-seam changeup, and his big thing, if you watch anything he talks about, is getting this finger. You have two dominant fingers on the ball here, right? So if you have two dominant fingers on the ball, it's going to come off hot and it's going to stay flat. So what he did was, and what Guy preached, was he would offset the ball here. And now, mind you, his fingers are huge.
Yep.
So he's getting this finger still over the ball and can hold – he's basically holding a three-finger changeup with two fingers offset and the circle there. And he was double jointed in the sense that he could pronate it this way and make the ball fade.
Okay.
So part of that was on him, but to kill his velo and get his fade, this is how he would hold it. Now my hands weren't big enough; it just didn't work for me.
Yep.
So then I met John Franco. A lot of you guys probably don't know who John Franco is, but John Franco, and I know and Frank Viola. So they kind of, I was throwing a two-seam changeup, and I was holding it like this because I was getting the sink and the fade that I want. Velo was good, and they were like, you know what? We're going to take the Pedro mindset because I had two dominant fingers, and we moved it. And so now I only have one dominant finger off on the ball. Everything is coming off leather, so it's going to kill the friction.
Okay.
So the seams will create the friction, and so now it's going to come out slick and just kind of tumble out of my hands, right?
So
And I'm also pronating it.
One of your dominant fingers is your middle finger, then, opposed to say your ring finger.
Yeah.
On that.
Okay. I technically still have two dominant fingers on the ball.
Yeah.
But now, so holding it like this, when I go to release and I pronate, I'm where Pedro is.
Okay. I got you. Yeah, I see that.
Does that make sense?
Yep, I got you.
So I took the ball from here, offset, put my thumb underneath it. So now it just feels like I'm throwing a 3-finger fastball. And so now when the arm naturally pronates, and I don't think about this when I throw, and we'll get to that in a minute when I start talking mechanics, because I don't think mechanics usually, but the handle naturally pronate itself, and now I'm getting to this part of the ball. I got my one dominant finger, and I get the fade and the tumble.
Okay. Yeah, I like that. That's, and like I said, that's huge, because a lot of these guys, you know, some of them coming up through the ranks, they've just been taught that kind of old
circle.
You know, their circle, or even that some of them with the smaller hands, that traditional kind of little league where it just work more so on that pronation. But
yeah, so Roberts was also the king of teaching changeups too. My changeup took a jump there when I learned from him, and the way he held it was put your pressure through this part of the ball with these 2 fingers, thumb underneath, and we would literally throw it without these 2 fingers on the ball. Same thing, take these 2 dominant fingers away, and literally just he would say, pull the window shade down.
Okay.
And pull the window shade, and the ball will just come off those fingers and tumble. So there's a couple different variations, but I think the big thing is finding out what are your dominant fingers, what fingers you throw the ball with, and then just manipulating it. Like the thing, when I was younger, I had met the pitching coordinator for the Yankees, and he taught me to play catch with my changeup on the way out, not just like on the way in, to create the feel of how I want it to come off the fingers as I'm loosening up. Yeah. So when I'm warming up, if you ever come watch me like warm up, I use this as a fastball to warm up. Like I throw this as my fastball. Okay. Like I'll throw my fastball 2 times and then I'll throw a changeup. Fastball 2 times, throw a changeup, just to keep the feel. And then as I come down and when I get the arm speed, now I have the hand feel and the hand placement. You add the arm speed to it, now it's nasty.
Yeah, that's the a lot of, you know, when we're in the bubble or when we're doing long shots, we take that similar approach of 2 and 1, 2 and 1, 2 and 1. You know, working on that pronation, getting out in front, and still working on that extension, because now you're throwing a changeup 90, 120,
20 feet. Yep. So, yeah, great. It's a field pitch, guys. You got to throw it. You got to trust it, and you can't run away from it. You need it.
And fellas, one thing too is you hear it from me. You know, keep plugging away at it. I feel like a lot of guys at the youth level, they try throwing that changeup and they might not get the movement they want at first, but it is a field pitch. You know, you got to work on it. Don't just throw it out the window and say, I'm just going to start spinning it. You know, really work. You guys are some of the younger guys here, 14, 15, you're at an advantage, especially now with this quarantine, where you can work on that changeup, and then once you make that jump, say sophomore, you're a varsity, things like that, then it will be there. That's going to be a devastating pitch.
100%.
That's great. So we talked about, the role that you went from closer, stuff like that, some pitch scripts. What was the draft process like for you? We had yesterday, we had one of my buddies, Devin Pearson, who's one of the amateur scouts for the Red Sox right now. He had been looking at you. He had been looking at Metzdorf. He knows Sully. He knows Bino and stuff like that.
Yeah.
What was your process in terms of, that year of your junior year where things just started clicking? You guys had an unreal season that year. You guys went down to Miami. You guys were almost in Omaha. So I think you were drafted during the Super Regional. Is that correct?
The day before, the day before I had to pitch. So, crazy process. It kind of so when you guys get there, it all starts in the fall, and Coach Gambino does a great job of kind of putting it on the back burner of everything runs through him. So we would have group meetings and all this stuff, and you kind of get a lay of the land. You're talking to your advisors at the time of, this is who I'm talking to, this is who I'm not talking to, and they're getting feelers, and coaches are getting feelers and all that. But at the same time, you're just focused on playing. You don't really understand the magnitude of it. So things really jumped when I became a starter. because everybody, I guess, wanted me to start in the draft. So when that happened, literally we went from having like a couple people there to it was pretty packed every game because we had double headers basically every weekend we played. So it was Mike and I pitching. You had Scores catching, Johnny playing short, Donovan Casey, Joe Cronin, Jesse Adams. So we had a pretty good team, and we just all helped each other gravitate. And I think winning helped with that a lot also, getting guys there. And then going through the process, starting to pitch well, getting some phone calls, doing the questionnaires, all that. Started doing some mental psych visits, which is crazy. And then we played at Georgia Tech, and my agent called me, and we won. And he was like, all right, regionals or whatever. These are the teams we got. This is what we're thinking. Go pitch in regionals. This is your chance to solidify yourself for the draft. So I went out, had a good game, and they invited me against Tulane. Yeah. So they had invited me up to Studio 42 to watch the draft there, which was a childhood dream of mine, and it was tough for me to pass up. But after talking to the coach and talking to my family, it was, I think, a cooler moment to be there with my teammates and to be in Miami and not have to fly to New York, fly back, try to sleep, and then pitch that morning, which it would have been physically impossible.
Which at the time is going to be one of your, biggest games.
Biggest starts of my career, yeah. Yep. Exactly. And it wasn't worth doing that to potentially have to move Mike up to Friday, and he has to throw on short rest. So I was like, you know what? These are my boys. They've been here with me through the entire process of sucking to getting to where I'm at now. So I want to share the moment with them just as much. So Chris, being the beauty that he is, he actually gave money, and he rented out Duffy's Sports Bar for me to go and have like a little draft party. So we had all the guys there, family from the team, because we're one big family. So I was mic'd up. It was a crazy night, and got the call from the Mets. I think it was at like 10:30 at night, man. I was exhausted. Emotional roller coaster. Tried to go to bed that night, couldn't. Woke up. Xana was like, you got to do interviews on ESPN today, and then you got to go do an ESPN interview with Pete later. Like, just a whole bunch of crazy stuff. Mind you, I'm trying to get ready to pitch against Miami tonight. That's not happening. So show up to the game and like try to pitch on like 5 hours of sleep. But if you couldn't get up for that game, you had something wrong with you. Like it was, the energy in that game was ridiculous. So it was a crazy process. Looking back on it, I forgot a lot of the little details, but I remember that day pretty vividly.
That's cool. I like the fact, obviously Rick, one thing with the Blue Sox, when we were on the Blue Sox, is that Blue Sox brotherhood, that camaraderie and stuff. And, that's something that these kids, they're playing. Yeah, you play high school ball and, it is a shorter season. You're there 2.5 months with your guys. But, when you're part of a program or something like Route 2, starting from October all the way till, say March, and then from June all the way till August, these guys are together. That's that kind of brotherhood. They come in as a scrawny 14-year-old who's just developing, then all of a sudden work through their progression. Now all of a sudden 17U, these kids are going to college and stuff like that. They create such great bonds because they're always together, and they see guys from, the worst or when they struggled when they were younger to the hard work that they've put in and stuff like that. And it's nice 100%. To see some of these guys that, they go on to, say sign national letters of intent, or they get a chance to go play college ball, and these guys are resharing their kind of, commitments and stuff like that, kind of all on board, kind of helping each other and kind of proud of each other. So
yeah, 100%.
Cool to see with, the collegiate level too. So speaking of BC, in the draft, you had just mentioned Pete, even beforehand. What impact did Pete have on you while you were at BC? Rick knows, the Blue Sox, a lot of these guys that are on here know my relationship with Pete and kind of what he means to me and meant to me and still means to me this day. So, what impact did Pete have on you while you were at BC? A humbling one, anything that you could share, because especially towards your earlier years, Pete was still, he was in the wheelchair. He was still a little bit more vocal and kind of around.
Yeah, he traveled with us.
Yeah. So what impact, even to this day, because, you got your gloves, you got your cleats, you got the –
Did I show you those yet?
What'd you say?
Did I show you the gloves yet? I have them. I'll show them to you.
I'll
show them to you in a minute. Yeah, I got you.
Yeah. But perfect example. I mean, it's on all your stuff. I've made gear for you to wear under your
Yep.
jersey and stuff like that. So if you want to touch base with them on Pete.
Yeah, so for everybody who wears a BC baseball uniform, Pete is best friend, or first of all, brother, best friend, teammate, inspiration, and hero, all in one word, right? Like it's hard to put him in one word. So when you walk on campus, you understand his importance in that role. For me, first of all, it was putting things into perspective of like, my life isn't that bad. Like nothing is that bad.
Mm-hmm.
Nothing at all is that bad. And then when you start to talk to him and I realized the energy that he carried, and like you and Rick both know that there was just something different about my man. Like he carried that glow. He just carried that like, I'm a dude, rally behind me kind of attitude. And it was easy to jump on board with him. And when I heard what his thought process was when he first got diagnosed, it truly changed my whole perspective on life, of the fact that someone could basically be handed their death sentence. Like, y'all need to listen to this, handed their death sentence and say, that's sick, but now I'm going to change the world because of it. Like, that is so deep on so many levels that it was hard not to like fall in love with him and make him my hero. Like, he is truly, truly the inspiration for everything. And when I was struggling as a freshman and like felt like I wasn't part of the team, the one person that would DM me and like I hold these messages forever is Pete Frates. Like, would text me every week and be like, hey, can't wait to watch you. Can't wait to watch you here. Can't wait to watch you do this. When I got drafted, he was the first message I got was Pete. He was before the night of the game. The reason I took it so hard when we lost against Miami was because I told him I was going to win that game, because he didn't travel with us that year. The only games he was going to travel to was Omaha.
Omaha, yeah.
And I took it on my shoulders to get him there, and I wasn't able to do that. So that's part of the reason I took that so hard. But I mean, like you said, I got him on the glove. Like, I'll always be Team Freight Train, like forever. Like, he's everywhere. I got him on my cleats. I don't even do I have KLS on this one? No, I didn't put on that one. It's on one of them, the other ones. But he, man, like I could go on for hours about him. But I think just to see his selflessness and the way he carried himself, and then to see the determination when Lucy was born, and just to see like how much he grinded through to see his daughter grow up was truly, truly inspirational.
That's great. And that, Pete, I mean, whether it's baseball, whether it's life, there's so many lessons to be learned from Pete. Like you just said, everyone, maybe not to that extent, but, people have their bad days. People have, some shitty situations in life, whether it's on the baseball field, whether it's personal. But to, look at a situation like that and see someone in his situation, and then just say, F it.
F it.
I
just
can
said
power
F it.
through this. That's for even baseball or like, schoolwork, you're struggling in schoolwork, or baseball. It's just that people are out there going through so much more stuff that, you're going to find a way to get it done. We had, like I said, Devin Pearson was on yesterday, and his, he had kind of a crazy roller coaster career throughout high school, college. He was going to be one of the top guys going to Stanford for football. Things got twisted, ended up going the baseball route. His mom got sick, and that was one of the things that kind of propelled him. Was he had so many speed bumps throughout his career at Cal that nothing kind of fazed him, because it was back home. There was so much other bad stuff that was going on that a small rotator cuff injury, wasn't going to derail him or kind of affect him mentally. Kind of put things in perspective.
Maddie,
Yep.
why don't you tell everybody that's on this call the first time you met Pete and what impact he had on you?
Yeah, so we were playing up at Endicott College with the Blue Sox. We were playing the Reading Bulldogs. I think it was a 4:00 game, something like that. So all of us traveled up on our Sunday, went up to Endicott. We're getting ready for the game, and here comes Pete.
Doubleheader, as a matter of fact.
Doubleheader. Here comes Pete with Andrew, and I think Nancy was there for a little bit. This is when he was still able to communicate and talk pretty well. He was hanging out in the dugout with us. We were sitting, we were chatting. 2 games go by. I think we got swept that day, Rick. Played some awful baseball, very quiet in the dugout. Some guys just didn't seem like they wanted to be there. Kind of, it was a waste of their time for the day type thing. And Pete talked to us afterwards, not only about baseball, but, we had 30 guys in the dugout, and it was quiet for two games straight. Guys aren't really talking to each other. It didn't seem like a lot of camaraderie. And Pete gave us the talk after about, look around. These guys, these are your teammates, right? You're all in it together. You're going to build relationships that are going to take you so much further than just Blue Sox baseball. You're going to form relationships that you're going to be in one of your teammates' weddings. You're going to be at another teammate's wedding. You're going to be maybe a godfather to one of your teammates. You guys are going to be really good friends and develop some great relationships through baseball, but communicate, talk to each other, learn about their life, learn about where they're from, what their background is, their parents, what they like to do, things outside of baseball, because it's so much more important sometimes than the game, and when you can build those camaraderies and you can build those relationships, not only is it great for the long run with friends and stuff, but it gives you guys that kind of that confidence and I guess people around you are on the same page. You're all in it together. You can go out and strike out, and you don't have to worry about going back to a dugout and feeling like, guys are going to get on you and stuff like that. They're always going to have your back. They're always going to be there when you need it, whether it's in baseball or in life. And I think that was the big message that I took away from Pete that day. And a lot of the other guys too. And I think we went out that summer after that day, Rick, and we just ran the table basically and just dominated. I think that was the
we won yet another intercity league title, and it all goes back to Pete Frates. Justin is no different than the rest of us. We're no different than Justin. When we all met Pete, it was like being. If you all watched the TV show, I Was Friended by God, or whatever the title is. Well, when you become Pete's friend, you are friended by God, in a way.
Yeah,
he's an incredible human being.
I
Always was, and always will be in everybody's heart, mind, and body and soul.
Yeah.
What an incredible person.
One thing too is obviously we're on this Zoom meeting right now with Justin. I met Justin 2015, maybe. I think that was 2015. So I've known Justin for five
14.
Yeah. So
Summer 14.
And that's something that, Justin didn't play the full summer with our Blue Sox, but I took the time to kind of get to know Justin when I drove him home that day, and still kept in contact. And that's something that, Pete and kind of what Pete was talking about kind of instills in a relationship like this. I can always pick up the phone and shoot Justin a text. There's so many other guys like Justin that I have contacts with and friendships with and stuff that, it really is because of that Blue Sox mentality, that Blue Sox brotherhood, and kind of what Pete preached that he brought to Boston College. And, I'm sure what Justin brings into the Mariners, clubhouse, and kind of that camaraderie and stuff like that. So it is something that a lot of guys that have been part of the Blue Sox and BC have passed along through their other teams and through their friendships and stuff like that, and kind of really took to consideration. So
we're all connected, but we're connected through Peter.
Yeah.
That's a wonderful thing.
So quick question, Justin. If you want to just talk about maybe some up and downs that you might have had from, say, now that we're out of college, say the minors to the debut last year, maybe some minor injuries or any ups and downs, if you want to touch on mentally what you were thinking in terms of any setback, okay, let me power through this, what your mentality was when anything ever came up. And obviously, Petey's huge because you just talked about that, but I saw earlier today or yesterday you were doing the workout with the Mamba mentality shirt on. So
Mamba. Oh.
Between Pete and Kobe, I mean, those are two guys that mentally, it doesn't seem like any hardship, would rattle you. So if you want to just talk about minors to your debut and any ups and downs and kind of what you got through any battles.
So when I first started in pro ball, I went to Brooklyn, short season A ball, and kind of dominated. Like, it was pretty easy. I wasn't even really trying. So I went into spring training that next year, my first year. They got the tag, the bonus baby tag, the first rounder tag. I didn't care. You know how I am. I don't care about that. Like, I'm just pitching. dominated guys in AA, dominated guys in AAA and spring training games. So I was like, it's gonna be easy. You know, I had set me and Peter Alonso. We were kind of really good friends. We became friends in Brooklyn, and we talked and we were like, you know what, this is our year. We're going to the show this year. Like, we're gonna do something people have never done.
Right off
We're
the
gonna
bat.
go. We were both knew we were going to high A together. We were living together. We were like, all right, high A for a month, AA for a month, AAA maybe if we need to. We're going to the show. Like, that's just the way it is. We're having a really good camp. So we were like, let's do it. So they told me I was going to high A, but I still had to make the team. I didn't know that that's where I was going to go. I was still a little worried about it. So pitched really well, made the team at high A, and I was like, everybody's like, that's unheard of. Like, you and Pete are like the only two people to ever do that to this point or something like that. Or the last person to do it, last pitcher to do it was Harvey,
Okay,
I think.
Matt Harvey.
Yeah, in the org. And so guys are like, damn, like, that's crazy. So my head got a little big. And my first outing, I was so amped up to, like, let's go shove it, you know. I walked 5, gave up 3, didn't get out of the third. Yeah, walked 5, gave up 3, didn't give out of the third, and was kind of like, damn, all right, like, it is what it is. You're just too amped up. Like,
Yeah.
cool. And then literally my next bullpen, I'm throwing, and or a couple days before, I get a call from my mental skills coach. He's like, "You good?" I'm like, "Yeah, man. Like, I'm straight." He's like, "All right, well, we're gonna have weekly check-in phone calls." And like, I thought that was weird. I was like, whatever. And then the next day, was my bullpen, and I went to throw my bullpen, and it was my coach, my pitching coach, my manager, catching coordinator, pitching coordinator, assistant pitching coordinator, mental skills coach for my team, and one other person was there. And
Which
I'm
isn't
telling you,
normal, right?
huh?
That's not normal. I mean, you're walking in.
Yeah, I'm like, that's not normal. Like, why are they here?
It looks like you're walking into an intervention or something.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And this is like, I'm walking up to the mound to go throw.
Yeah.
So I'm like, what do we got going on here? And so now I'm throwing, and they're trying to make mechanical changes. Mind you, at the time, or looking back at it now, every single change they wanted to make was correct.
Yeah.
But it was coming from 75,000 different people and saying it in different ways that it messed me up mentally. So I got away. I'm out there thinking like, okay, break your hands, get your hand here, and like getting smacked. Like, next outing was worse. Now I'm getting hit. I haven't gotten hit like that since I was a freshman in college. Kept going for a couple weeks. Pete was struggling, so we're in the house like, dude, I don't know if we got what it takes, like, panicking. This league's chewing us up. And I'll never forget it. I faced the Charlotte Stone Crabs, and I gave up 6 runs in the first inning. And my manager came and pulled me. I threw my glove, went into the locker room, grabbed my phone. I went into the third stall in the locker room in St. Lucie, and I sat down and I just started bawling, crying. Then all of a sudden I started hyperventilating, like couldn't breathe. I called my mom. I was like, I'm coming home. Called my girlfriend. I'm coming home. Like, I can't do this anymore. I'm not good enough. I don't have what it takes. Like, I just can't do it. I don't know what's wrong. I can't do it anymore. They both calmed me down. My girlfriend got on a flight, came down and visited me. Ended up getting through the year. Talked to Gambino a lot. Talked to Pete a lot. Got me through it. Didn't have the year I wanted to have, but went back to the drawing board, got back to work, got back with my pitching coach, Glenn Mitchell, back home, and we started working, man, just getting back to being an athlete. And that's where my whole mindset is now, of being an athlete and getting back to where I was. And
Strowman mentality.
Yeah, exactly.
Strowman fan, so.
Exactly. And so came back in 18, won pitcher of the year with the Mets. Got traded over last year, got traded over here. Picked up right where I left off in 18. Had a really good year.
For Cano, you got traded for Cano. That's a pretty legit name right there to be traded for. After 2 years or so in pro.
Yeah, I got traded for a dude. Come over and then get called up, and I don't remember my debut. Like, I remember everything leading up to the first pitch, And then I remember Skip patting me on the butt and saying the game's over. I know what I did, but I don't remember it. Blacked out, man. And just kind of sat there, and the panic attack started to come back when I was in my locker. Like, oh my gosh, I'm at the highest level, and sorry for my French, but I just shit down my leg. Like it's September, man, and I knew I wasn't going anywhere. But I'm like, I'm getting sent down tomorrow. Like, they're pissed. Like, I suck. I'm terrible. And D. Gordon and Kyle Seager had come up to me right after the game, or right after I came out, like, hey, you did something that not a lot of people get a chance to do. Like, that will never get taken away from you. Some people's stories are different. Just keep grinding, keep getting better, and it'll get easier. You just got to get comfortable. And then when I'm in the locker room kind of having my little panic attack, and Felix comes up to me, it's just like, hey, and Felix is a man of very few words, and just kind of hit me on the back and goes, it's the same game. And I started thinking, and I was like, it's the same game. It's the same as that game. Like, you're right. Then I started thinking about, Pete would say, F it.
Yeah.
You've been here before. You've had adversity before. You've had adversity in college. You know how to handle it. Let's go back to what you know how to do, and let's get better. And gradually started to have a little more success. Then had a really good game against Houston, and then finished the year on a really high note. And a lot of it was just figuring out how to deal with those successes. And I honestly don't think if I had that year in 17, if I never had that year, I don't think I'd be where I'm at, because if that was my first taste of failure right there, I don't know if I'd ever came back from it.
Yeah. So that kind of not groomed you, but kind of lets you take a step back and kind of really put things in perspective and
100%.
Yeah. And I mean, that can go even with some of the guys that are on this chat right now, that can go their way too, because, with showcases coming up, with summer ball coming up, you go into week 1 or 2 or summer ball, those are two big weekends. Say you struggle or stuff, instead of just, saying, oh shit, or you're thinking, hey, I just threw in front of so many college coaches, didn't do as well as I expected, am I cut out to play, say, Division I or a top Division II program and stuff, but just kind of file it away, learn from it, reassess certain situations, and then just kind of keep grinding. So.
Yeah, 100%.
Let's see. Let's talk, get, a couple more minutes or so, but we'll just talk a little bit about, what your routine is in terms of, working out. You more, guys say, strength. A lot of guys have different approaches, whether it's strength, mobility, combination, arm care. I know you're a big J bands guy. I know you like doing some bands, but have you ever dove into, drive line balls, plyo balls, things like that? And then if you want to touch on some of your pitching grips, I know we talked about the changeup, but if you want to talk maybe about your two-seam fastball and your slider, maybe some cues in terms of your release point, kind of what goes through your head in terms of making that spin or, making that run with your two-seam.
Yeah. So lifting-wise, in the off-season, I lift pretty heavy. Legs 2 times a week, upper 2 times a week, run 2 times a week. So I'm going 6 days a week, and getting after it. While also I'm a hypomobile athlete, which means I'm very tightly bound. I don't have overhead flexion. My hips are Mierda, like, it's bad.
Yep.
So while I'm doing all of that, I'm opening up my ranges, getting my mobility. I get a lot of manual therapy done in the off season. I'm on a table 2-3 times a week sometimes, getting my body right after a long season. And a lot of that comes from just playing and understanding where your deficiencies become created. Like, I know after a season, my left hip is shot just from the constant having to go like this and the bone rubbing. And so I have to get that mobility back and then build strength in the mobility to stay healthy. So it's a combination of both mobility and strength in the off season, as well as getting back to neutral and kind of resetting the body. That's my biggest thing that I've learned is you find those deficiencies and then you get the body back to a blank canvas, and then you could retrain it to whatever you want it to be after that. So my first couple of weeks of the off season is I don't work out, but I'm on a table. When I got home this off season, I was on a table 6 days a week, just getting my arm back to neutral, my hips back to neutral. And then we started adding more range and then strengthening range. And then now I'm lifting weight, moving more weight than I've ever moved that early in an off season, to where I finished playing in September, uncharted territory for me. And I was the the strongest and the best I've ever felt in an off season, which was scary after playing 162 games.
Yeah.
Where in season, I still lift, but I go through phases of my lifts. So I'll go through a phase, and it's all based off my body. So there'll be phases where I feel weak, and it's like I got to move some weight. You know, I gotta move weight. I gotta lift heavy. I gotta get after it.
Start firing muscles, stuff
Yep.
like that. Yep.
And then there's phases where like I'll throw and I'll be like, I just felt slow and sluggish today. So it's go be an athlete. Like I'm out on the field doing cuts, doing 5, 10, 5s. Like we had a basketball court in Arkansas. Like I was out doing layup lines and just being athletic, doing ladder drills, deadlifting for speed, not for power, just trying to be explosive again, get my quick twitch muscles firing. And then the big thing for me in season that I've learned is keep me healthy, because in 17, I tore my subscap. So my season in 17 got cut short. Forgot to mention that. But I tore my subscap partially because I would just wake up, man, like eat McDonald's, go to the field and try to pitch. Like I knew nothing about taking care of your body, and it caught up to me. And now I know mobility is the key to staying on the field. So I crushed T-spine mobility. I crushed my long toss, like you mentioned, with Jaeger. Alan's a good friend of mine now. I do a lot of 5-pound jobs, arm care stuff. Like I have it mapped out to what I do the day I pitch, my day 2 throwing care, my bullpen throwing care, my day after throwing care, what I do with the second I come out of the game, all to keep my mobility and my strength to where it needs to be to make 30-plus starts a year.
Okay. I think a great thing that you just touched on too was, you know, each day you might feel different. You know, a lot of our guys, you know, one thing that I try to instill in a lot of these guys, whether it's, you know, a little bit more basic, you know, at the youth level in terms of our 13, 14, 15 or so, and then kind of as they progress up into their high school ranks, getting a little bit more intricate with some of their fan work and stuff. But, you know, you keep a routine, but you're going to wake up, like you said, one day and you're going to feel a certain way that you might need to alter that routine. You know, what you normally do on a daily basis, you might be tight or you might feel slow or vice versa. You're going to have to, all right, I have my routine that I have planned out, but I'm going to have to alter that because what I have planned isn't really going to necessarily help me become a little bit more mobile or become more athletic when I start to throw today.
Yeah, exactly.
That's a good piece to touch on that. Yeah, you do want your routines, but you know, don't be afraid to alter those because you know there is going to be different times when you feel different throughout the year, throughout the season. So that was huge. Driveline, do you do any plyo balls or anything like that?
I'm not big into plyo balls, man. I just grew up long tossing. That's the way my dad taught me. I'm a big believer in velocity is God-given. You can train it to a certain extent.
Puberty is one of the biggest.
Puberty's a crazy drug, man. I believe after just becoming so close with Jaeger that promoting freedom in the arm does more benefit than throwing heavy balls. Again, and I have friends that it works for, and I'll never be like, yo, you should stop.
Yep.
If it works for you, great. God's good. God bless. Go ahead and do it. It doesn't work. I can't say it doesn't work for me. I'm stubborn and won't try it.
Yep.
But in my head, my theory with weighted balls is for me to throw a ball heavier than what my body has naturally created adaptations to throw. Yep. You know, the throwing motion is not a normal motion. To put 5 ounces in your hand and try to throw that, your body has naturally created adaptations in order to make that movement fluid to your body. So now, in order for me to add weight, somewhere in the kinetic chain of movement, I'm going to create a compensation or a separate adaptation to get my arm into the position that I need to be in to throw.
Yeah.
And the position that I may be in with a heavier ball may not be where I am to throw a regular baseball. So why would I train to throw out a slot where I'm not going to throw from? Yeah. With that said, if I were to do driveline balls, I would probably go to Bodie and do it there. I would go to driveline, do it there, and I would learn. I'd want to understand the movements behind it, why all that is going on. But like I said, I'm a big long toss guy, big pull down guy. I think you can create a lot of arm speed through just pull downs with intent and promoting fluidity in the arm. Like you may think your arm slot is here, But to throw a ball 300 feet, you got to throw from here. This is where you need to throw from. So why are we training your arm strength from up here when your arm moves faster and freer from here? All we need to do is just get you to repeat this slot more often. And that's just happened by reps.
I've incorporated some driveline plyo balls into some of our guys at Route 2.
Their recovery stuff is great. I love their recovery stuff.
Yeah.
I love their recovery stuff.
We'll throw against the plyo wall, and at most, we'll use the red 8-ounce ball at most. I see guys doing pivot picks with that 12-ounce ball and stuff like that. Yeah. I think that's crazy. I use the 8-ounce ball in the plyo, not necessarily to kind of create arm strength, but kind of pattern some things in movement in terms of their arm and stuff like that. But like you just said, a guy with a different arm slot, even that 8-ounce ball, or like a guy like Chris Sale, for instance, right? A guy like Chris Sale, he can't be throwing that 8-ounce ball. It's going to probably do more damage or regression for a guy like that than just being whippy, just throwing a regular 5.
Yeah. I think part of that for me is just like I said, I'm a hypomobile athlete. I know that. So for me to put something heavier and make my body tense up more is going to do more negative for me than, okay, let's create the mobility, let's create the movement and try to free up the stiffness that I already have so I can get to lay back naturally and really get through my pitches. Yeah. The only thing I've really been experimenting with now is this like clean fuego ball. I don't know if you've seen this.
I saw Joe Kelly throw that through his window yesterday.
Yeah, this is the actual one he threw through his window, the same size, but
release, right?
Obviously, it's for spin efficiency and true spin. So I have only thrown with it once, but I really like it because I'm trying to get back to really riding the baseball. So I think this is going to be something that helps a lot. I'll definitely keep you posted with it, but this is really the only thing I'll experiment with. And this is the heavy one, and I won't throw that. Like, I'll only throw the one that he made to feel like a baseball.
They have an 8-ounce one, right? It was 5 and 8 ounces or something?
Yeah, I have to look. This one might be 8.
Yeah. I think the one with the red is the traditional one, but that's
5. Great. That one's 5. Yeah.
I've seen a couple guys. If they don't want to drop the money on that, they'll start using hockey pucks because it's the
same thing.
Same way as baseball, but it still gets that effect of getting behind the ball, ripping here, opposed to getting on the side and kind of cutting. So 100%. So I mean, I think I kind of covered everything that I wanted to talk about. I know a few guys like Xander and maybe a couple other guys had some questions, so we can probably open it up for 5 minutes or so. I got nothing to do, man. So fire away. Xander, you want to go first? I know you had a couple questions.
Yeah, sure. So you obviously threw hard in high school, and then sort of kept progressing throughout college and the pros. So I was kind of wondering how your training sort of developed from high school, and then as you got into college and then into the pros and learned more and more and more, how your training and sort of what you did and what were the most important parts of that, like how that developed.
So really good question. In high school, I didn't lift at all.
There's not much you could lift at 110 pounds.
I know. So I live with hockey guys, and like they would try to drag me to the gym, but I'm not going. Like I don't need to get big and strong to play baseball. I'm looking at Bartolo and David Wells and those guys pitching. I'm like, I don't need to be that strong to play. You know what I'm saying? Like my arm works fine, and I'm doing well at this size, so I never lifted. In hindsight, I wish I did. I wish I knew what I knew now. I would probably be in a lot different situation. I probably would have signed out of high school. I probably would have gotten drafted higher and signed out of high school. But so from there, from not lifting, I went to college and where I was forced to lift. So that was a great thing for me. I started to create the work ethic, the drive, the determination to want to lift. And lifting became fun to me, and I enjoyed the process of lifting and understanding what it did. And then that summer, I was fortunate enough to meet Eric Cressy and start lifting with him, and then understanding how to train lifting functionally for what I do on the mound is when I really started to take the next step. And then I got a great movement guy, both one at Cressy named Shane Ryan, then I have one manual therapist in New York, Mike Stella, and they both started teaching me about my body and how my body moves. And then my pitching coach is all big into, my pitching coach Glenn Mitchell, and even the one with the Mariners, Pete Woodworth, are also big into body movement and strengthening the body and how the body's supposed to move. So as I got older and matured and I learned the way I'm supposed to work, like I can't tell you how you're supposed to lift. The way I lift and the way you lift, you may be loosey-goosey and you don't need to stretch. And all you need to do is go in the deadlift rack and try to deadlift 500 pounds, and that'll help you get to 100, then by all means, go do it. But you have to find what works for you. For where y'all are at, I would say just start doing something, anything. Anything is better than nothing. Because as you get older, you'll learn like, oh, I did this, and now I can feel like, oh, when I do a skater, I'm now staying in my back leg so I can push off the mound. This movement helps me train that. But it all comes with time. It all comes with maturity. So to tell you exactly what you need to do to get to that point, I can't. It'll just come with when you get to college and you start experimenting with a lot of different things.
Now, question: when you were at BC, so when I was at Quinnipiac, and there's 5 a.m. workouts, stuff like that, whole teams in there. Everyone from your catchers to your shortstops, your outfielders, your pitchers, we were all just crushing weights, doing the same thing. Now,
Same.
Okay, so it was the same at BC. So a lot
Same.
of these guys. So Xander that had just asked you the question, he had been working over at Champion Performance, Mike Reinold and stuff like that.
Yeah. Oh, Reinhold's awesome.
We have Will Kelly's on this chat. He works out with Eric Cressy and stuff, and they're not necessarily going in there every time working with these guys, but it was good because I'm no doctor. When it comes to baseball mechanics, everything is fine. But in terms of the body movement and kind of assessing certain guys' body movements, maybe at a doctorate level like that, some of these guys, as they get through the ranks, I think it would be beneficial for them to take on an Eric Cressy or a Champion, where maybe it's just an analysis and they set them up on a plan, but at least they get that, hey, you might have been lifting this way for the last 2 years, but your body really moves this way.
Yeah.
Kind of like you, where you had someone tell you like, hey, you've been doing this, or you could do this, but realistically, you should be doing kind of this body movement because that's what caters to you better.
And I think the biggest thing is ask questions, and if you ask them in the right way, just in the sense of, hey, how is this going to necessarily correlate to what I do? It'll help you understand the movement, help you feel it better, and then you can translate it. And when you understand why you're doing something, the purpose behind it, the intent behind it is that much better, and you get that much more out of it when you understand, oh, shoot, he's having me do a one-leg cable RDL because that's me getting to extension and getting over my front side when I pitch. So I'm training that to get over my front leg. Okay, I'm going to be more violent when I'm on my landing leg because that's the leg I need to pull over. So understanding the purpose behind each one of their movements, because every single trainer you're with will have a purpose behind the movement. So just ask questions, say, even if it's not to the specific trainer, but it's to the person on the floor, just, hey, what is this working on? Baseball wise.
Yeah, that's good. I like that. Fellas, anyone else want to jump in? Just unmute yourself. Once you start speaking, it will pop up. So if anyone else has any questions, or if Xander, if you had another one, let me know.
Yeah, I got one more.
Yeah.
What was like the best thing you learned from guys around you in the pro camps, like spring training, or in the locker room, just picking up stuff from those guys that have had a ton of experience?
In regards to what? Just in general?
Yeah, I mean, something on the pitching side of things, just because guys like Felix Hernandez that have had, many years in the major leagues, whether it's pitching wise or mental game, something like that, like how you deal with, being in the pros.
Yeah, I mean, it's something I'm still learning. I've been fortunate to talk to Fee, to talk to Felix, to talk to Pedro, talk to a couple guys. So far, the biggest thing I'm learning, and even from guys who on my team, like, we don't have too many veteran guys, where we have Taiwan Walker, who's been around for a little bit, Marco, who's making a name for himself and starting to do some really good things, and it's going to be really good for us. Kendall Graveman, who's been around for a while. And then you have me, Sheffield, Yusei, and a couple other guys coming up. So we lean on them to answer a lot of questions for us. And I think the biggest thing they've all said is understand yourself. When you understand yourself, you can do anything on the field, I can't be you, you can't be me. But if you understand, if you're faster to understand what makes you, you're going to have more success. So, like, I know my strengths. I know my weaknesses. Now all I have to do is go dominate my strengths, improve my weaknesses slowly but surely, and keep strengthening my strengths, and I'll continue to get better and continue to grow. On the field, it's like Felix told me, it's the same game. You know, I sometimes struggle with looking at the name on the back of the jersey instead of understanding that's not Mike Trout. There's just another right-handed hitter who has holes. I just have to find them.
Yep.
You know, I think that's the biggest thing is realizing that everybody up there puts their cleats on the same way. Everybody up there has a hole. Everybody up there has a weakness. It's a matter of, can you find it? How quick can you find it? And how quick can you exploit it? And then how quick can you realize that, oh, you're sitting on my slider now, so I'm going to do this. So just the game within the game, but also understanding that it's the same game that I played when I was y'all's age, and the same game y'all are playing. Y'all are legitimately playing the same game as Mike Trout. That's the simplest way to say it.
I like that. And like what you were saying about the holes and kind of getting guys' weakness, you know, especially at the level that they're at. You know, baseball's fun. You're in the dugout, you're messing around, you're having fun with your guys during the summer and stuff. But really, you know, in college and obviously in the pros, you get charts, you get, you know, scouting reports. So you know a little bit more what some guys' weaknesses are at their level. You know, I've tried to instill the importance of paying attention during games. You know, if you're on the bench, you know, yeah, you can have some fun.
Oh,
but,
yeah.
but pay attention, because not only are you going to help you when your name's called, but all of a sudden that your pitcher's coming off, or even if you're a shortstop, you're an outfielder, you're watching hitters' tendencies, you can go into the dugout and say, you know, hey, Justin, you know, after 2 innings, I've seen this kid can't hit the outside pitcher, or has trouble, you know, laying off whatever. Because we obviously, you know, summer league, stuff like that, we don't have these scouting reports, but after 1 at-bat, 2 at-bats in a tournament, you somewhat gauge hitters' tendencies and kind of what they're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, a couple stories, like when I was up last year in September for the short stint, you know, I think who were we facing? We were facing Manea with Oakland, and I was sitting on the bench, and I was just – so you guys may think we're joking around on the bench, but we're tuned into every single pitch. Like, I could be talking to Keo in between pitches, but as soon as the pitch is thrown, I go like this, okay, slider, and then we're back to our conversation. So I'm sitting on the bench, and it's Seager and Vogie talking, and Seager's like, he's going to hang the slider in the upper sliver. Like, this is where you want to see the ball start. If you see it starts here, go get it. And, of course, Seags comes up, and I guess he threw it in the spot. Bam, home run. He's like, I told you he's going to throw it there. So you just got to pay attention. So that was the first instance. And then sitting there, we got 2 of the best base stealers in the league with D and Malix. And I'm talking to them, or I'm listening to them talk, and he's like, D goes, there's the flinch. That's what we're keying off of right there. That's what we're going to steal off of. If you see, literally, man, like if his shoulders did this or something, like just something small like this, they were gone. You can't stop it, you know? And then to the point of where, like, my guys would come up to me like, I just can't figure them out. And I'm like, all right, well, sit here with me right now, and I'll tell you, I have a pattern. I do the same thing every time. So we sat down, I watched the right-handed hitter, and I was like, I'm calling pitches, and my teammates are like, how are you calling these pitches? Or my buddy, like Kyle, would be like, how are you calling this? How are you calling this? I'm like, it's a tendency, man. You just got to watch. Y'all have to watch the game. That's how you learn. You learn from watching the game. Everybody has a tendency. Everybody has a pattern. You can learn a lot from the on-deck circle, from the bench. My game took a jump when I met Mike King and we started doing video, and I was going into games knowing what you wanted to do against me before I even faced you, and had 4 different options of how I was going to get you out. So when you start taking that aspect of the game serious, you'll start to see some real benefits.
Fellas, anyone else have any questions?
Yeah, I do. So after a start, what do you normally do for recovery? Because I feel like for me, like, that's one thing that I haven't been like so good on, I guess. Because like I kind of like don't really know what to do, I guess. So for me, it's like
okay.
Terms of ice and stuff like that, or non-ice, you know, what's your approach, Justin?
Yeah.
I know some guys out there, they're icers, they're non-icers, you know.
Okay, so I guess my question to you would be, have you done ice before?
I do, after I throw like more pitches than normal, I'd say, but generally not really.
How do you feel the next day after you ice?
I don't know. I don't really see a difference between when I ice and don't ice.
Okay, so then you know that's irrelevant. Do you run the day after you throw?
Yeah, I'll jog a little bit.
Okay. Do you sometimes slack, or do you sometimes run harder than other days?
Yeah, probably. Like when I throw more, I'd say I'd slack a little bit more.
And then are you usually more sore when you throw more?
Yeah, like slightly, but like in general, like I never really get like that sore, I'd say.
Okay. So I think the reason I'm asking these questions is because each option has a reaction. So I know for me personally, I grew up icing. My dad that's what we knew. We threw ice on my shoulder. My arm has adapted to like ice. So I come out of the game. If I don't ice, I feel it the next morning. I know I didn't ice. I can go back and be like, damn, I didn't ice yesterday. I'm hanging, you know? But if I ice, I can delay that soreness to a day two soreness. Then I know, okay, now I need to do my strengthening. I open it up. I get a nice long toss to open it up and get it moving. I don't have any intent behind my throws. I'll get on the mound, work down the slope for 5 or 10 pitches, and then I'll go do my arm care and then ice again. I won't ice technically my day one because I don't need it. I'll just get a nice flush massage, get my blood going, get the healing, promote the healing in there. So it's all figuring out what works. So my advice to you would be keep a journal, right? So when you play, keep a journal. I pitched this day. I threw this many pitches. Today I iced. Today I ran 10 poles. I ran at 80%. Next day I felt good. Great. Next day I felt good. Great. I did this, this, and this. Okay, next start. I threw this many pitches. I didn't ice. I jogged. I feel like crap. Okay. Next time, let's try just icing, not running as hard. I still feel like crap. Okay, let's try just running. Still feel like crap. Now I know that is my formula to skip that first day soreness. Then you just keep tinkering because at y'all's age, you don't need to have it down to a science. I didn't have it down to a science until now, where I know I'm pitching every 5 days and that's my job. You know, but it's tinkering, messing with different things, talking to other guys. Like Xander asks questions. Xander may have an idea that can make you better that's working for him, but it could work 10 times better for you because your body likes it. So talking to guys, figuring out like, dang, okay, this works. Throwing 300 feet the day after I pitch is the best thing for me. You would have never thought to do it, but one day Xander says, yo, let's just go long toss, and you try it.
Mm-hmm.
So there's a fine line between figuring out yourself and talking to other people, but it's all feel. You'll learn it as you get older and the more you do.
I like that. Connor, you should get a nice little fade up and then some frosted tips, and you'll have the
Heck
same hair.
yeah.
Oh, yeah.
You'll have the hair.
Oh, yeah.
The same
I like
hair as
it.
Justin.
Yeah, it's getting bad.
Any other questions?
That was a really good question.
Thank you.
I got one, Justin.
What do you got?
Why did you want to pitch so badly coming out of high school?
Oh, that's my homie. What up, big man?
What's up, man?
Why did I want to pitch so badly?
You said you had, big schools coming after you to look at you at shortstop, but you seem pretty intent on pitching. What was that?
Because when I pitch, nobody can touch me.
Ah.
Just the fact of when I step on a mound, man, like I could have family issues going on at home. I could have my girlfriend could be yelling at me. You know, the world could be coming to an end. But when I swipe the dirt off the rubber, there's just something about it. When I towed it up, the world stopped, and I was just in my happy place. That's the easiest way for me to describe it. Like, there's no other feeling in the world like it for me, being in complete control.
Like that a lot.
Anyone else? That's a good one.
Yeah, I got a question. So you said in high school, like all throughout high school, you weren't very big. You weren't that heavy. Like, what did you do to like get up there with the other guys, get more powerful, build strength?
Puberty.
Puberty. It's a hell of a drug, man. Wait on it. It's coming. It's a hell of a drug. Mother Nature is crazy. My little brother, man, like he was always tall, but puberty's just starting to kick for him. My man, I came downstairs one day. My man was 6'6", wearing a size 17 shoe. Like, I left to go to spring training. He couldn't dunk. Now I get videos of him putting the ball between his legs dunking. Like, puberty's a crazy thing. Just don't rush it. Don't try to force it. My dad always told me, you're a boy trying to play with men. Wait till you're a man trying to play with boys, because you've been able to play with men as a little boy. Now when the field evens out, then you can have fun.
Mm-hmm.
Good. I think something good about that too is, there's a lot of guys that maybe they necessarily start lifting a little bit too early. They'll start doing, because they want that strength or that arm speed or, throw harder. They start picking up drive line balls where their body's not fully developed, and it's probably going to do more damage. If you just kind of work, like Justin said, work long toss, you work on your mechanics, doing dry work, and kind of set that good foundation. Then all of a sudden you start to develop, you hit puberty, you start getting stronger, but the important stuff of, your mechanics, the way your body moves and stuff like that is already there. Now you've put on your weight, you've gotten some strength. Now it all starts to click. It's a lot harder to all of a sudden just, throw the ball, not really work mechanics and go about it a certain way, trying to get stronger. Now you got stronger, your body's developed. Now it's harder as your body's developed to kind of break those muscle memories or maybe those bad habits that you have, opposed to setting them and just getting stronger as you progress in age and get older.
Mm.
Anyone else?
I had a question about your changeup. When you throw it, do you drag your back leg and use less leg power, or do you throw it the same as if you were going to throw a fastball?
So a little tip taught to me, I forgot who taught this to me. It might have been Mike Roberts. You curl your toes. So when I throw my changeup, my foot is in my cleat, right? And when I throw my fastball, my foot's in my cleat like this. But when I go to throw my changeup, I curl my toes up in my shoe like that. So when you think about it, when you go to push off the rubber, you use your toes to push you forward, right? That's the last thing to leave the rubber. If you don't have your toes, your foot's just going to kind of drag down the mound without a lot of power behind it, and that'll be a way when my changeup feels hard, I'll curl my toes to kill some velocity on it.
Huh.
And it also allows your arm a chance to get out in front and be in front of your face and be repeatable.
I've never heard that. I like that. Anybody else?
Yeah, I got one for you.
What you got?
First off, thanks for doing this.
Of course, love the hat.
Thanks, man. You talked about kind of you progressed when you discovered your strengths and whatnot. For all these guys in high school and whatnot, what do you think the biggest thing was for you for kind of finding those strengths? You talked about the mental strength coach or mental skills coach you had, or what sort of resources would you tell these guys to look at in terms of looking at their strengths, both pitching wise and attitude wise?
Pitching wise, you'll tell yourself what your strengths are, man. I got a fastball and a slider, and if I need a punch out, I'm going to one of those two pitches. So what's my strengths? Fastball and a slider. Where do I command my fastball the best? I'm going to pitch in with my fastball, try to get you off the plate, open my slider up. That's my strength. When I'm going well, I'm doing that to both sides of the plate, and it's pretty good. Now, mentally, I have a pretty good team that helps me. My pitching coach from home, Glenn Mitchell, is the one who encourages me to – we work so much when we're younger on strengthening the body. No one strengthens the mind and gets the mind to the place of being the strongest part of our body. Hence why now I'm reading Kobe Bryant books, and why I read books about seagulls flying and just getting out of my own way to do things. You know what I mean? I think when I realized that, he said to me one time, I was throwing a bullpen and he had me close my eyes. And I started freaking out. I was like, what do you mean close my eyes? And he goes, close your eyes and throw the ball there. And I threw a strike. And I was like, that's the sickest thing I've ever done in my life. He goes, the body doesn't need to see. The body just needs to do. When you take your mind away from the body and you let the body just move and be free and one, you're under complete control. So when we fail, and you can think back to this to yourselves, when you fail, how many times are you on the mound like, yo, don't throw this fastball here. Don't throw this slider here. Or, damn, don't do this. Don't do that. It's all your mental thoughts getting in the way of what you already know how to do. So when you learn how to control the mind and say, all right, I'm just going to execute this fastball and just go do it. Not try to add anything more. Not try to take away to make it go there. I'm just going to throw the fastball here. or I'm just going to write this paper, or I'm just going to walk down the street. You don't think when you walk. That's the most natural movement we have in everyday life. We don't think about. We just do it. So why would we think in anything else? Strengthen the mind to make it more powerful, make it more diverse, make it stronger, but then just let it be. Don't try to make it anything more when it's time to use it.
I like that. I think
Yeah, that's great. Thanks.
something that you just talked about too is pitch of being afraid to not do something. You know,
Never.
In a situation like you or even some of these guys, you know, they're going to be in a situation where they know that this hitter might be able to eat up on that inside corner. So instead of psyching yourself out and say, oh shit, don't throw it on the inside half here, you know, be a little bit more positive and say, I'm going to execute this fastball on the outside half.
Yeah. Well, I mean, so last year, and we were playing Springfield, and they have this lefty, Dylan Carlson. Look, he's going to be in the big leagues. He's going to be unbelievable. His scouting report against righties is he hammers fastballs in. Hammers them. I watched my video the night before, and I saw a flinch that I was like, I can beat it. So we sat down for our pregame meeting, and my pitching coach was like, all right, what do you want to do? I said, I want to shove the fastball in down his throat, and I want to throw back foot sliders all day. And he said, no. And I said, I'm going to shove the fastball down his throat in, and I'm going to throw back foot sliders. And my catcher looked at me like I had 15 heads. Coming into the game, he went fastball, in, shoved it down his throat. And again, shoved it down his throat, back foot slider, see ya. Then flipped the script, went back foot slider, shoved it down his throat. And my pitching coach was like, I'm so proud of you because I wanted to see how convicted you were to your plan.
That was your strength at the time because you exploited his weakness. So you said, all right, I'm going to put my strength against that weakness and challenge.
And when I was with the Mets, a story about there was a scouting report saying, I forgot who the hitter was, but it was like, don't throw this guy a fastball. And he raised his hand and said, he's never hit my fastball, and he's going to see 3 of them. Went out, blew 3 fastballs by homeboy and said, can't hit my fastball. I don't care what the numbers say. Mine is better than yours. At the end of the day, whoever's a pitcher, whatever your catcher puts down, if you're 100% convicted in it, 9 times out of 10, you're going to have good success.
Like that. Speaking of that slider, that you coming in, punching, going 2 in, slider out. You want to just touch base on that nasty slider and that grip, and then what your cues are in terms of your release point. I think one thing I've heard from you was letting it get past your head, seeing it get past your head on that release and stuff like that.
Yeah. So I learned this pitch from my buddy Kevin Pimentel at a scrimmage, and I kind of just took it out in the game and used it that day and never looked back. So 4-seam, right? I take the horseshoe and I get the 2 seams this way, and I hold it on this horseshoe, right off the lace, kind of halfway in there, right? So you can kind of see it. And my middle finger, pressure through the middle of the ball through my middle finger. Fingers just inside the seam, right? Got my thumb on the how do I hold it? Dude, I haven't thrown a ball in so long. I got my thumb on the inside of the lace, right? Thumb going through. So think about this axis. My thumb is going through diagonal on this axis, right? This is just along for the ride. When I go to throw it, it's fastball as long as I can, and at the very last second, I get here, my middle finger to the front of the ball, and I just pull down. That's it. So fastball, slider, and just play catch with it. I talked to Scherzer about it, and he told me when his is kind of struggling, he'll just go out and just try to make the ball spin like a bullet, because this is the spin that you want. And when a bullet comes out of the chamber, it spins like this, and it slowly fades off. So that's the shape you want. And if you can get that consistent spin, you'll get that consistent shape. And then now that I have the shape pretty much where I want it, I could take it and I'll move my fingers up on the ball. And if I'm facing Shaw and I went fastball in under his hands, and now I know, oh, dang, I'll just move my fingers up and make that slider cutter because he's looking for the back foot one. Or I want to get ahead and freeze him, I'll make it bigger and throw it almost like a curveball, start in the left-handed batter's box, and it'll just sweep. So then you could start to play with the grip, manipulate the ball, and that all comes with feel and reps.
Now, middle finger on that, right? Are you trying? You're trying to get, say, your middle fingernail back under the ball on your snap after your release point, if that makes sense.
No. Yeah, but I don't think that. I literally just think curve. So don't even think middle finger. Just I think fastball, breaking ball.
Okay.
Throw a breaking ball at the last second.
Late breaking ball.
Whatever that means to you, throw a breaking ball.
Okay.
And some guys will get this, some guys will get this, some guys it may not work, but then you just play with the grip. Like I know a lot of guys throw curveballs this way, but I throw mine this way, and it still moves like a slider. But that's because I can play with the cuff of my wrist, and if I cuff it more this way, it'll get more of a pop and a loop. If I hold it kind of straight up and come straight down, I can get more top to bottom to finish at the bottom of the zone.
I like that. Any other questions, fellas? You guys got anything?
Fire away. Anything you guys want.
Two-seam grip? Approach on the two-seam in terms of, I saw a thing about Verlander a couple months ago that, because your two-seam grip, the way it rotates, the way it comes off some fingers, at one point a couple years ago, he was having trouble controlling his traditional two-seam grip, and he went back to taking these two seams,
short seam,
holding it like a four-seam because he was getting that comfortable four-seam rip on it, but obviously he was getting that tail because the way, from here, it's just basically a transition or a change in the seam holding, but the way that ball comes out and runs is the same.
Yeah. So I know this is how Familia holds his sinker. I know that.
Okay.
I hold my two seam pretty traditionally, just right here, thumb underneath. Just I get better results when I think stay behind it and make this finger be the last one on it, and I'll get better results. No pressure or anything. Huh?
You on leather with your thumb, or are you on seam?
I don't think thumb. Thumb's kind of wherever my thumb wants to be, it wants to be. If I want it to move more though, I'll move it up here.
Okay.
Get a little more fade, a little more sink to it, but I just kind of throw it. I don't use it too much. This, honestly, I work on to just kind of be a freeze pitch. Like, again, if I'm pounding Chris in, I'll just try to Greg Maddux him one time. I'll just show it. Even if it doesn't work, just to show it and put it in his head.
Yeah.
So now he can't bail. You know what I mean? And he has to stay in longer. Or he will bail if he sees the ball in like that. Or I can throw it to a righty and get them when they're diving on the slider, just kind of freeze. But I don't use this very much, but I just hold it pretty traditional and just kind of let it rip. Four seam, just like this. Nice and loose, and just let it eat.
That changeup, man. That changeup is disgusting. I remember.
Appreciate it.
Yeah.
It's getting there.
The Futures game this past summer, I think you threw like 95, 96 mile an hour fastball or something, and then you threw a changeup to some guy, and it's like puke. It's like that puke emoji.
Appreciate you.
I felt so bad for the dude. He's on like this huge platform, MLB TV or whatever, ESPN Futures game, and you throw him 95, 96, and then you threw him an unreal changeup down. I'm like, that's not fair.
That was actually Carlson too. That was the funny one. That's the kid that I was talking about.
Yeah.
I only did that because he knew I wanted to go in, and I couldn't give up a homer on national TV.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
So, anything else, fellas?
Yeah, y'all can ask anything if you want. Anything at all.
When you were like a teenager, how much would you practice? How much would you go like take some swings or like play catch with your dad or something or pitch? How much like would you do that a day or a week?
I did it a lot, man. So going to boarding school, I didn't have the chance to like play catch with my dad a lot.
Right.
I would just go do it, to be honest with you. I would, when I was in high school, I would always email my coach and just be like, go open the batting cage. And I would just go do it by myself. I'd throw into a net, or I'd be in my room, like to the point where like my girlfriend and my mom like mess with me, and like my family messes with me because I'll be in the grocery store while they're looking for stuff, and I'll just be going through my delivery. And that was me just practicing. That's just how I would practice. Or I'd go in the basement when my grandma was watching me as a little kid, and I made a square. I made a strike zone in my basement, and I would just take a little ball and just practice throwing into those little squares.
Yeah.
and it was honestly me playing a game with myself, but I didn't realize I was practicing. But I did it a lot. You have to be comfortable working by yourself, because that's when you learn yourself. You learn what clicks. You don't. Sometimes coaches will throw you off, but when you're with yourself, you'll find the true movement of yourself.
Yeah, I think
But practice is very important.
Nate Espin, I think you had talked about that
Thank you.
a week or so ago, saying that I was asking you about, now that you're home because of the whole coronavirus thing. So, and you had touched about, obviously you're at Dayton, but you were somewhat excited that you're home, you can work by yourself, and you can kind of figure some things out where you're not maybe in a pressure situation or in season. So you can kind of feel a little bit more in terms of, what you need to work on and kind of fix your craft, opposed to, having to do it in season, then go out and perform and having a bunch of mental stuff. So I know some guys that are home in terms of college, it sucks that the college season isn't here, but they're really mentally taking this time to kind of focus on finding themselves and finding their strengths before hopefully summer ball comes and, they're able to go in the Futures League, NECBL, Cape League, and kind of be already there, ready to kind of compete and impress, opposed to, using that maybe summer league to kind of figure some things out, because during the collegiate season where it's still very competitive and you're after wins, you can't really tinker sometimes too much.
Yep, 100%. 100%.
Anyone else, fellas?
Before a game, do you have any routines you have to focus? Like, do you listen to music or something, or some sort of thing where you're sitting there to focus up, or do you just kind of relax and just go through your motions before a game to warm up?
No. So I'm super high energy. Like, I'm the guy you walk in the locker room and I'm rapping every word of Pop Smoke. I'm rapping, going crazy. I have to get myself ready to go. But I also, so I'm very routine oriented. And my routine kind of starts the night before, of where I'll eat the same thing and go to bed at the same time and all that kind of stuff. But one of the things I started doing in 18 when I was with the Mets, I started to take a shower before the game, and I viewed it as, when I was in the shower, that was my last chance of being a regular person. That was my last minute. So as I was washing my body, I'm washing away all the family problems, the girlfriend problems, the bad night of sleep, everything else. And when I stepped out of that shower, it was time to go to work. So as soon as I stepped out of the shower, I'm locked in and it's game mode. I don't talk to people. I may be rapping, but I'll never have a conversation. I'll always be very tunnel vision on where I need to go, where I need to be. I'm reading my scouting reports. I'm getting it ingrained into memory. And then I have different parts of my routine that I do that are me checking myself off. Okay, now you're one step away from being ready to go pitch. You did this. Okay, let's go to work. Now it's time to pitch. And then when I get out there, it's just shut the mind off and go play. To get into the full extent of my routine, we'd be here for another hour and a half, because it's so long and in depth. But I have a lot, and it starts the day I start to the 4 days leading up to it.
Now, does that stay pretty consistent, even on the road? I know there's different between traveling, flying in, different time things, stuff like that, time getting into the hotel or time, heading to the ballpark. Does that alter too much? Or does that, do you have maybe a routine from when you're throwing on the road opposed to when you're back home? Or does everything kind of just gel and you try keeping that same routine no matter whether you're in New York, Seattle, Boston, Texas, whatever it is?
Yeah, so the big leagues is a little easier because at least from what I've seen so far in the two away series I've been to, because there are gyms there. So in the minor leagues, it was hard because there wasn't always a gym in the facility that I could go work out or go throw at or go warm up at. And then the other thing I had to deal with was we would pull up on the bus. We had 8-hour bus ride straight to go play.
Yeah.
So it's my body was super tight and I didn't always feel great going onto the mound. But being in the big leagues, you travel a little better and you get some better amenities and things like that. And but it was learning how to speed up the process, whether it be I take my Theragun and I'm on the bus for 8 hours, just Theragun in my legs just to keep them loose, or I'm stretching on the bus every 2 hours just to keep my body moving, and just finding ways to do that. But I may have had to start listening to my music at an hour left of the bus ride because I know when I get off, all I got is an hour and a half when it takes me 2 to get ready. I have to get in, go straight to the shower, eat, do what I got to do. So in the minor leagues, it was more adapting it to figure out the different times. And now in the major leagues, it's figuring out how to tinker my schedule to fit within a big league day, because some things are a little different the way it works. But for the most part, I get to the field early, like super early. So I know I always have the ample time to do what I need to do.
Okay. So actually feeding off that, we're in quarantine right now. So this can go back to, say, the off season. In terms of routine, a lot of these guys, whether it's homework, whether it's playing up Call of Duty, do you have does your alarm go off every morning at the same time and say, are you, I've read some books, the TB12 method, stuff like that. Are you in bed by 11, or do you have parameters that you figure work best for your body during the day, that if you wake up at this time, you get going and you're in bed by, say, 10:30, 11, does that help you? Do you have any type of routine like that? Or are you can go to bed at 1:30 after playing Call of Duty or whatever with Alonzo and wake up the next day?
He actually just called me to play right now. No, right now this quarantine's got me all messed up. So no, I don't have a schedule. But when I'm in Florida and I'm like, when I go, so throughout the off season, I'll start working out at home, get myself ready to go. And then, I move to Florida to de-stress and get away from everybody. And when I go down there with King, we're on a schedule. Like, we're in bed 11:30, 12 at the latest, up by 8:30. So either I'm making breakfast or he's making breakfast, and we're eating the same thing: scrambled eggs, spinach, bacon, fruit smoothie, day in, day out. Done lifting by 12. Go hit the ring. Like, it's very routine based. But right now, it's kind of tough because I want to stay in season, because in season we play so late that, like, I may stay up till 1:30 and then sleep until 12 and lift at 12:30. But I know if it's December, I'm usually done with my day by now.
Yeah.
If that makes sense.
Yeah.
So it's tough right now trying to maneuver this whole aspect, but I think routines are key. And I think that's the separating factor from being up there and learning that each guy has a routine, and being with the Mets. And I was fortunate enough to watch Jake DeGrom go through his routine one day and in spring training, and just their routines are so detailed and the same that on their game day, if they know that if they did their routine and their work before, the game is the easiest part of their week.
Okay.
So I think getting into routines early, that would probably be one big thing I would say now, is get into a routine. Kobe had his routine. He was up at 5, on the helicopter, weights, came back home, took the kids, ate food, weights, went back, got shots up, weights, went home, had dinner, game. And it was the same thing every day. And I think when you can train your body into getting into routines, it's going to make you perform at an even higher level.
Yeah. I think mentally too, like you had just touched on it, it's one of those things is preparation. You know that you've gone through your routine. You can feel confident saying, all right, shit, like I'm ready to go. Like everything's falling into place. Now I just got to go out and perform. Yeah.
At least to the best of your ability. Obviously, you're not going to be able to do everything all the time, but to say for the most part, I've done my work. I'm good to go.
Yeah. I like that. Anyone else?
Yeah. Do you feel that there's more pressure in high school and college playing to impress scouts to get you to higher places like the big leagues? Or do you think there's more pressure being in the pros playing with some of the greatest players in the world?
It's a really good question. I think they're both, in the grand scheme of things, pressure is what you make it. So going through the recruiting process, I never felt pressure playing in front of scouts. To me, that was fun. I always kind of looked at it as, all right, I put in a lot of work this offseason. Let's show you guys what I did type of deal. But at the same time, I also know that it's like, dang, this guy's looking at me, and if this guy doesn't like me, then the head coach isn't going to like me, and if the head coach doesn't like me, I'm not going to get my scholarship. So it's finding the fine line of understanding your surroundings, but like I said, getting out of your way and just going to play. And I think it's the same thing at the big league level, and it's all comfortability. Once you get comfortable, you put the pressure on yourself. Nobody can put pressure on you. No one says you have to play to get a scholarship. You say that. No one told you that. You know what I mean? No one said I have to make an about against Mike Trout bigger than what it is. I'm the one who's saying it's Mike Trout in the box. I guarantee you Mike Trout's just saying, all right, this kid's a fastball slider guy. I just want to see the ball start here. That's it. But the more you personally make of it, the bigger the situation is. So to give you a definitive answer on which one is more pressure, I can't say. I'll say I probably put way more pressure on myself where I'm at now than I did when I was y'all's age. But in the stage of your life, it's more pressure for you to go to a showcase and have 80 guys watching you at one time while you're running 60 yards and you don't want to trip and fall or get a bad start. I hope that answers your question.
Yep, it does.
Okay.
Thank you.
Right. I think pressure-wise too, with some of these kids in some of their situations, whether it's high school, going in the showcases for colleges and stuff like that, is to play to your ability too. You're going to go into a showcase and you might see, Gambino with his BC shirt, or you might see a guy, maybe a D3 guy, but be comfortable with your craft and kind of what your potential is and where you're at. And if you're, say, a solid D2 player or a solid D3 player at the moment, don't try to go too crazy to try to impress that, Vanderbilt coach or something like that. Kind of play to your ability and let it kind of fall into place, because there's going to be, maybe you might not be able to play at a BC or Vanderbilt, but if you go to a great D3 school like a Middlebury or a D2 school or a Trinity or something like that, or even another mid-major kind of D1 program, there's going to be guys out there that like you for what you can do right now and kind of see the potential and stuff like that. So don't necessarily think like, oh, there's a BC scout here, just to impress that one BC scout or something because he's a D1 program. There's many other guys there. Play to your ability. Let those other guys too fall in love with you. Not just the big
100%. And with that being said, though, also never – I was always, and Keo knows this, I was always told I was never going to be where I'm at. So don't go into those schools and say like, oh, I'm a D2 player. Like I'm not even going to waste my time with BC. That's wrong. Like if BC is your dream school, I'm going to go play at BC until BC tells me I can't play there. But be okay with that when they say, okay, maybe this isn't for me. Just know that I'm going to push myself to do this. And if you want to put pressure on yourself to do that. I want to do everything I possibly can to get to this school or to get in front of this coach. But once I get there, I'm just having fun. Yeah. I'm going to show him the work that I put in to get to where I'm at.
Yep. And a perfect example. There's tons of guys out there that, BC might have been their dream school or a UConn might have been their dream school, and they were good students and stuff. And they work towards that dream and maybe came up a little bit short, but then they fall into a Trinity or a top NESCAC program. And, you're getting a good education. You're starting maybe as a freshman or a sophomore. You're playing some great competition. You still can sign as a free agent. If you're good enough, they're going to find you. You can still get drafted, and even at that age as a senior and a freshman, look at you. I mean, the progression is still there, so going into a freshman year, that's not necessarily your peak. So yeah, you might be that caliber player right now, but say in 5 months, 6 months, a year, who knows what you can do and kind of jump towards.
Yeah, 100%. So great question.
Anyone else? Nothing? All right, I think we're good. That's a solid 2 hours, Justin, man. I appreciate
man, that was dope.
That's
of
awesome.
Course.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, of course, guys.
Thank you.
Good luck this year, man.
Thank you.
I'll ask some of the guys too. Maybe some of the guys might have been a little bit shy, but if any guys had some questions, they can text me or email me, and I'll shoot them your way, and I'll compose a couple that maybe some guys were afraid to answer or something like that.
Yeah,
maybe
feel free, man. Again, if y'all have any questions, shoot them about anything at all, baseball related, non-baseball related. Just fire them out.
Yeah, and Justin, if you want to give them your Twitter and your Instagram, stuff like that, if they got questions, they can always
DM me. I check my DMs all the time. So it's Dundeal_35 on Instagram, and Dunn_deal35 on Instagram, Dunn_deal19 on Twitter. So I check my DMs all the time. So I'll get back to you.
Yeah, so fellas, whether it's physically related or any mental stuff that you guys might have, in the future or this summer or progressing, feel free to reach out. So.
Yep. For sure.
All right, awesome, man. I appreciate it, dude.
No problem. Appreciate you, bro.
All right, stay safe out there.
You too. Y'all stay safe. Wash your hands, man.
Yeah, wash your hands, right?
Yeah. Later, y'all.
Thanks, man.
All right, bye. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.